The fateful day. The sun-drenched streets of Kabul, my childhood in Kabul, Afghanistan, was a kaleidoscope of vibrant colors, warm breezes, and laughter. As a young boy, I would spend hours exploring the narrow, winding streets of our neighborhood, mesmerized by the intricate patterns of the tiles that adorned the ancient buildings. The scent of fresh naan bread wafting from the nearby bakery would tempt my stomach, and I'd often sneak in to beg the baker for a warm, crispy treat. But amidst the joy and simplicity of childhood, a complex web of social hierarchies and class divisions began to take shape. My family, the Khalids, were prosperous and well-respected, while our Hazara servant Ali and his son Hassan occupied a lower rung on the social ladder. As I grew older, I began to realize that this disparity was not unique to our household, but rather a reflection of the deeply ingrained prejudices that permeated Afghan society. One fateful day, as Hassan and I explored the outskirts of the city, we stumbled upon a group of older boys taunting and teasing a Hazara vendor. The vendor's eyes, red, rimmed, and pleading, locked onto Hassan, and I could sense his helplessness. In that moment, I felt a pang of discomfort, a sense of unease that I couldn't quite articulately express. Little did I know, this encounter would sow the seeds of a betrayal that would haunt me for years to come. In hindsight, it's clear that the social norms and biases of my childhood environment played a significant role in shaping my actions on that fateful day. The subtle, yet insidious, messages I internalized about the inferiority of Hazaras laid the groundwork for the choices I would make, and the devastating consequences that would follow. As I reflect on those sun-drenched streets of Kabul, I am reminded that even the most seemingly insignificant events can have a profound impact on our lives. The past revealed. Amir's struggle to reconcile with his past. As Amir stepped off the plane at JFK Airport, the unfamiliar sights and sounds of the United States hit him like a tidal wave. The towering buildings, the cacophony of car horns, and the diverse sea of faces rushing to and fro were a far cry from the quiet, rural town he left behind. The excitement of this new chapter in his life was tempered, however, by the weight of his past. For Amir, the decision to leave his homeland was not taken lightly. He had grown up in a country torn apart by war and violence, where the memories of his childhood were marked by the sounds of gunfire and the smell of smoke. The trauma of those experiences had left deep scars, ones that he struggled to come to terms with even as he tried to build a new life for himself in America. As he settled into his small apartment in Brooklyn, Amir was confronted with the inevitable question, how do you leave the past behind when it feels like it's still haunting you? The answer, he soon realized, was that you don't. The past is a part of who you are, and to move forward, you must first acknowledge and confront it. In the weeks that followed, Amir began to open up about his experiences, sharing his story with friends, family, and even strangers he met on the street. It was a painful process, but also a liberating one. With each retelling, the memories lost a little of their power, and Amir began to see himself not as a victim, but as a survivor. Key takeaways: the past can be a heavy burden to carry, but it's only by confronting it that we can truly move forward. By sharing his story, Amir took the first steps towards healing and reconciliation, proving that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for a brighter future. Redemption begins. The call that changed everything. I'll never forget the day the phone rang, piercing the silence of my apartment. It was an ordinary day, much like any other, but the voice on the other end would shatter the illusion of normalcy, sending my life careening down a path of redemption. Amir, it's Rahim Khan, the voice said, sparking a mix of emotions I hadn't felt in years. Rahim Khan, my family's old friend and confidant, had been a constant presence in my childhood. His wisdom and guidance had been a beacon of hope during the tumultuous years of my youth. As we exchanged pleasantries, I sensed a hesitation in his tone, a reluctance to reveal the true purpose of his call. And then it came the bombshell that would append my world. "Amir, I have news about Hassan," he said, his voice laced with empathy. My heart skipped a beat as memories of my childhood friend and nemesis came flooding back. Harnran's words were like a slow, rewind, revealing the truth about Hassan's fate. The details were sketchy, but one thing was certain: Hassan's life had been forever altered by the events of that fateful summer in Kabul. I felt a pang of guilt and regret, my mind racing with questions. Why had I abandoned him? Why had I been so cruel? As the call ended, I was left reeling, my thoughts a jumble of emotions and unfinished business. The weight of my past mistakes hung heavy on my conscience, but I knew I had to act, and redemption begins with the truth, and I was ready to face it head on. Confronting the past. Amir's homeland revisited. As the plane touched down in Kabul, Amir's heart swelled with a mix of emotions. It had been years since he last set foot in his beloved homeland, years since he fled with his father, Baba, leaving behind the only life he knew. The memories of his childhood, of Hassan, and of their fateful parting came flooding back. He had returned to Afghanistan with a singular purpose: to find Sohrab, Hassan's son, and make amends for the past. The landscape of memories. As Amir navigated the bustling streets of Kabul, he was struck by the contrast between the Afghanistan he remembered and the one he saw before him. The once vibrant streets were now marked by rubble and debris, the sounds of ladder and commerce replaced by the rumble of military convoy and the distant thud of artillery fire. Yet, amidst the devastation, Amir detected glimmers of the past, the familiar aroma of kebabs wafting from street vendors, the colorful fabrics of traditional clothing, and the warm smiles of strangers. A search begins. Amir's quest to find Sohrab took him to the local orphanage, where he hoped to gather information about the young boy's whereabouts. As he walked through the crowded corridors, he was met with a sea of curious faces, each one etched with stories of hardship and resilience. Amir's eyes scanned the room, searching for a glimpse of Hassan's features in the sea of unfamiliar faces. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was resolute in his mission to find Sohrab and begin to heal the wounds of the past. In his journey to find Sohrab, Amir was forced to confront the demons he had left behind: the guilt, the shame, and the regret. But it was in these moments of vulnerability that he began to realize that redemption was within his grasp, if only he was willing to face the truth and take the first step towards forgiveness. The circle of redemption. Amir's journey begins, unraveling the past. As Amir stepped foot into the quiet, dimly lit room, a strange sense of calm washed over him. The air was thick with the scent of old books and stale air, a far cry from the putrid smell of the streets he had grown accustomed to. It was as if the world outside had melted away, leaving only the echoes of his past to haunt him. The worn, wooden chair creaked beneath his weight as he took a seat, his eyes fixed on the figure opposite him. Dr. Rachel, a therapist with a kind smile and piercing green eyes. The first few sessions were awkward, to say the least. Amir struggled to verbalize the tangled mess of emotions that had been bottled up inside him for years. Rachel listened intently, her expression a mask of empathy and understanding. She probed gently, coaxing Amir to confront the demons that had driven him to the very edge of existence. "I don't know where to start," Amir admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "It feels like my whole life has been one big mistake." Dr. Rachel leaned forward, her eyes locked onto Amir's. "You're here because you're tired of living with the weight of those mistakes. You want to break free from the guilt and the shame. Is that right, Amir?" Amir nodded, a lump forming in his throat. "I just want to be able to look myself in the mirror and not hate what I see." The road to self-awareness. Dr. Rachel guided Amir through a series of exercises designed to help him identify the root causes of his emotional turmoil. They explored the tumultuous relationships that had shaped his past, the moments of hurt and betrayal that had left deep scars. Amir recalled the day his parents had abandoned him, leaving him to fend for himself on the unforgiving streets. He spoke of the countless nights he had spent sleeping rough, always on the lookout for predators lurking in the shadows. As Amir delved deeper into his past, Rachel helped him connect the dots between his experiences and the destructive patterns that had emerged as a result. Amir began to see how his fear of rejection had led him to push people away, how his anger had become a shield to protect him from getting hurt again. The more he uncovered, the more Amir realized that his actions had been a desperate cry for help, a plea for someone, anyone, to acknowledge his existence. The power of accountability. One of the most significant breakthroughs came when Amir finally acknowledged his role in the demise of his relationships. It was a painful admission, one that left him feeling vulnerable and exposed. Rachel reassured him that taking ownership of his mistakes was the first step towards redemption. You can't change the past, Amir, but you can learn from it. You can use those lessons to become a better version of yourself, Dr. Rachel said. Amir began to see that he had been living in a state of perpetual denial, refusing to accept the consequences of his actions. He had blamed everyone else for his problems, from his parents to his ex-partners. But now, with Rachel's guidance, he was forced to confront the uncomfortable truth. He was responsible for his own misery. A summary and key takeaways. In this chapter, we've witnessed Amir take the first tentative steps towards redemption. Through his therapy sessions with Dr. Rachel, Amir has begun to unravel the complex web of emotions that have held him back for so long. He's started to acknowledge the role he's played in his own downfall, a crucial step towards forgiveness and healing. The key takeaways from Amir's journey so far are: confronting the past is essential for moving forward. Accountability is a powerful catalyst for change, and redemption is possible, but it requires embracing the truth, no matter how painful it may be. As Amir continues on his path towards redemption, he'll face even more challenges, but with Rachel's guidance and his newfound determination, he's ready to tackle them head-on. The bittersweet end. The fragility of life. As Amir stood at the gravesite, surrounded by the people he loved, he couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. Grief, regret, and nostalgia swirled together like a whirlwind, threatening to consume him whole. He had lost so much, yet gained so much more. The journey had been long and arduous, but Amir knew that he was better for it. The impermanence of things. Amir's thoughts drifted back to the early days, when he was naive and carefree. He had thought that life would always be a never-ending series of sunny days and laughter-filled nights. But the universe had other plans. It had thrown him curveball after curveball, testing his resolve and pushing him to the brink of despair. Yet, in the midst of all that chaos, Amir had discovered the beauty of impermanence. He learned that everything in life was fleeting, including relationships, health, and even life itself. The importance of human connection. As Amir gazed out at the sea of faces before him, he knew that it was the people in his life who had made all the difference. His friends, family, and even his enemies had played a crucial role in shaping him into the person he was today. Amir realized that it was the love, support, and sometimes even the criticism of others that had helped him grow and evolve. He had come to understand that human connection was the thread that tied everything together, giving life its meaning and purpose. In the end, Amir knew that it was not the destination that mattered, but the journey itself. The journey had taught him to cherish every moment, to appreciate the beauty in the mundane, and to forgive himself and others. As he said his final goodbyes, Amir felt a sense of peace wash over him, and he knew that he would always carry the lessons of his journey with him. and that they would guide him through the trials and tribulations that lay ahead.